Okay, so the title of the talk today is You Must Love the Guru Unconditionally. Yeah, so that is the title of the talk. Yeah, so in non-duality, you don't really, or in Western non-duality, there's not so much talk about the guru and yeah, there's kind of been a big movement away from guru ideas. So So a lot of people really don't know what guru is, including me. I don't really know and understand the meaning of guru. But in more bhakti yoga and in more traditional Indian teaching of non-duality, there is this emphasis on loving the guru. And the premise of it is different to what we think in the West. Yeah, it's different to what we think in the West. The premise to loving the guru in non-duality or in more traditional Advaita teachings is to see the divine in the guru and use the guru to help evoke that in you, to help evoke the divine or non-duality in you. So the premise of it is that you start out finding a teacher in which you trust and you love, and then you use that trust and love to evoke love in yourself. So sometimes when people come to this subject, they're so far away from love that it's really impossible for them to touch it or connect with it. So the idea is you meet somebody that naturally evokes that in you. And then you use that to bring that love into yourself or to expand that love. It's actually a really beautiful idea. So you're kind of using an external object to evoke an internal love, but really they're one and the same thing. Like an external object you love is yourself in a way. Not even in a way, it is yourself. It's just the mind that's divided and said, this is an object outside, and this is my love inside. And again, that's like really controversial for a lot of people. But can you actually love an object? Or is there simply love arising in connection to that object appearing? And whose love is that? Does it belong to the object? Did the object give it to you? Or is it your own love arising? These are really beautiful premises. Like just beginning to talk about it sends me into blissful feelings. So if there's an object that you love arising like a beautiful piece of music, is it the music that gives you the love? Or is it your own love? Just the music is reminding you. So in India, they developed this practice, and it's also related to Tantra as well, where you find a teacher or an image. It doesn't have to be a live guru. It can also be Kali or Durga or Krishna. And then you love it unconditionally with all your heart. And you're not giving the love to that object like we think of in the West. Like you fall in love with someone, you sort of owning each other. You're using it to evoke your own love. It's like, in some ways, it's like the easiest and hardest practice. And you might be like, but what's the point in evoking love? Love's got nothing to do with non-duality. It's got everything to do with non-duality. Everything. This beingness, the impersonal I am, who you are, is absolute love, empty love. It's not because of an object. It's not because of a body. It's not because of a feeling. It's the essence. So this is the premise of the practice. However, it doesn't translate well to the West. And also you can imagine there's been lots of abuse from this. But there's equally been from this practice like loads of awakenings and freedom. But it becomes abusive when then the teacher is like taking that love, or the image is taking that love and owning that love. Yeah, that's a difficult part. So this is what I think that initially, like, loving the guru unconditionally means. And I think that guru, which I've talked about in the past, although I always forget, that I've got an infinitely forgetful memory, guru is like the reminder of self, the destroyer of illusion. There's the self. So with this practice of loving the guru, the idea is that first of all you love an apparent external object, but then you begin to own it. I can't remember the actual process in which they do, whether you first of all love the guru and then you move it on to other people, or you move it into yourself, but eventually you move it into yourself. To love yourself and then love everything. So I forget the order in which it's taught, and I don't know if it necessarily matters. I'm sure it's a really unique path, and the more that I learn about India, the more these traditions, the more I realize it's so unique to every person who goes through it. So the point is love. To love. To bring that love into yourself. So this happens organically and naturally, and I'm sure so many of you have heard this story many times before, so I say it again. This happened to me as a teenager. Naturally, I did it by accident. It was really profound. It really changed my life, if that's possible. If it's possible to have multiple possibilities for your life. Maybe life's only ever one way, but it's the saying, it changed my life. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe that was exactly how the life was meant to be and there was no other option. So yeah, what happened to me when I was a teenager? I can't remember when I started doing this, but my mom was very into music, and she used to take me to a lot of theatre and concerts and yeah, all types of music establishments. Still now she tries to do it. We go to the theatre often, musical theatre. It's like a thing we do together. And she had this big stereo in the lounge with these massive earphones you put on. And you could put them on and be like totally absorbed into the music. This is in the 80s, early 90s, and it was a really high quality sound. And I used to put on the love songs, and I would imagine having like the perfect boyfriend or girlfriend. Don't think this body was ever concerned about gender really strongly. And I would imagine like all the details of it really intensely. You know, our first date, our first kiss, what they look like. And as I imagined it, I would begin to fill up with love. And that's really what I wanted, was that feeling, not the actual imagination. And I would fill up with love, and then there would become a point where the love overtook, and I stopped needing to imagine them or think about them. And then it was like the love would just like totally absorb me. And then I would just be in a state of love without imagination. And that really changed my life, if that's possible, because I realized that I never needed an object to get what I wanted. Like if I could do that through my imagination, this is how I interpreted it, then there was nothing I really needed in life. Like it was already in me. And it actually kind of had a negative impact on my romantic relationships, because I didn't ever fall for it. You know, like that person would evoke that love because I already had it. Yeah. So that, and it kind of damaged it a bit, because partners would expect me to see them as my source of love. I couldn't, because I'd had these experiences, and it was something I could still do, you know, into adulthood. And it's also what attracted me to presence. When Buddhists started talking about presence, or when I went to see Tony Parsons or Nathan Gill, these are my Gangaji, I got told these were like the first teachers. When they started talking about presence, this love would like begin to vibrate. And that was actually what drew me to it, was the love. And then there would be all weird conclusions in my mind. But there hadn't been the other seeing, the empty seeing. There had been the love, but there hadn't been the emptiness part. And the emptiness part is really important to like the backside of love. They come together, that everything is the love part, the manifestation is the love part, and the perception or the big consciousness is the empty part. So it's really important those two come together. Sometimes you find some teachers only teach the nothing side, and some teachers only teach the everything side. It's really not criticism. Everything that you come across is absolutely perfect and designed just for you. It's your dream. And sometimes there needs to be focusing on the love, and sometimes there needs to be focusing on the emptiness. In the end, they have to come together. Because what is it that you truly want? You want the emptiness, or you want the love? You actually want both. And some might say love, and some might say emptiness, but you actually want both because they come together. But if it's just emptiness, is that really what you want? Maybe people are like, if it's just love, I'll take that. But you can't really, they come together. The love has to be absolutely unconditioned, not belonging to a thing. So, yeah, this is the premise, and I speak about this a lot, but in different ways, about the love side. And this is the premise of loving the guru unconditionally. But it gets misinterpreted, because unconditionally means, like the story I just told you, it wasn't because of a relationship, it wasn't because I got something. It was like I just became absorbed in love. Some people might say it's because of the imagination, but it was an absorption in love. It's not because of something. And so loving the guru is an unconditional love. It's not because they look a certain way, behave a certain way, do certain things, want certain things. And it's a really powerful teaching because you've got to see the divine in that image beyond all their human frailties. And that's the job. I'm not saying be calmed by someone. I'm not saying give over your money. I'm not saying give over your life. I'm not saying like serve them until you like fall down dead. I'm saying you can do it with never meeting. You can do it with never speaking to them. It's seeing past their human frailties to their love which is beyond. You use the image to find the love which is beyond. And that's more what Ananda Mahima is and teaches. It's so funny that it tends to, my diving into this more, it tends to be more the female teachers that are willing to talk about this love side. But that's more in the way that she taught, is you just love her and you use her image to remind you of the divine. And I mean, if you spent time with her, you'd soon learn her human frailties. With, yeah. And it's, can you see beyond that, the divine beyond that? And then eventually you have to move it into your partner, your children, your parents, and then yourself. And the whole, everything, objects, all the objects. Can that be done? So, and then eventually you you see the guru is everything. The guru is life. It's not a particular form. It's not somebody. It's life. It's the cat. It's the wind. It's the sunlight. It's the lack of energy, the bad emotions, everything. It's all. In the beginning, it's like too vast for people. Like, it's all. So then there has to be often a focus of evoking love. It's really powerful, and that's more the bhakti way. Ananda Mahima, what's so beautiful about her is that she is considered a non-duality teacher, even though there's a lot of bhakti around her in the way that she speaks. Yeah. These sorts of practices, though, really don't translate well into the West because it's so beyond our culture. And it's so insulting to us to have this idea of somebody above or somebody with more knowledge. That's the wrong idea. That's what people think. It's like, well, this person sitting in the front calling themselves a guru, and this is what they think of them. Just to say, I'm not a guru. I don't mind if I evoke, if I'm an evoker of love for you, like if I evoke that. I'm not a guru. That's not my culture. I don't understand that. Like, I know I'm explaining it to you, but it's still not my culture. I can't call myself a guru. That's too out of my culture. Like, yeah, it's too. I don't mind that, but I also don't mind you not doing that. Like, there's just enjoyment of words, or this becomes like a meditation. I don't mind whatever is apparently helpful for you. Because to me, non-duality is absolute freedom, absolute freedom. And so in any way that can be heard is good with me. Even though it's life's will, it's the divine will. So however it's heard or seen, it's divine will. And whatever this body does is the divine will. It's not something outside. Our words and our language and our way of saying things always sound like separation, like this. Yeah, somebody can do something. Yeah, and if you're going to do the guru path and go and meet and live and stay in ashrams or do the guru thing, I would just recommend that you really understand about cultish behavior and really understand narcissistic abuse. And then when you go into it, if there is that happening, then you will be able to see it and perceive it and discern it and have the appropriate response to not get sucked in into in abusive situations. But everyone should do this for life. The same in a business with your boss, your friends or colleagues or family. Like, that's wisdom, I think, for life. And so how does this love meet nothingness? Yeah, so there's two sides to me of this waking up, this realization, the love side and the empty side. And they're one and the same thing, the yin and yang side and the end. It's one and the same. And they're both in each other. So to me, the emptiness side is the perception. Think what Nisargadatta calls the witness, the big witness or the big consciousness, not the personal consciousness, not consciousness which can be seen, which you can know about, but that which is witnessing all and is not separate from all. You could say in some ways it doesn't exist because it was all things. You can't ever find the big consciousness. But there is perception happening. There is knowing, not an intellectual knowing, but knowing beyond that. This chair is known, the wall is known, my lava lamp is known, my stairs are known, my hair is known, my octopuses are known instantly, not through an interpretation, not through words, because most probably your intellect is focusing on what I'm actually saying, but they're known, they're there. There is something that's perceiving it without any effort. You don't have to put your attention on it. You don't have to know it intellectually. It's being known. And that's the same when you wake up in the morning. You don't turn the big consciousness on. It's on actually in sleep, but what happens is you wake up. So your personal awareness wakes up, your thoughts wake up, your sensations wake up. So there is a switching back on of the body mind. But you don't type before that, like, oh, let's turn on consciousness. That's innately there. It's innately there in everything. Your personal awareness changes, your thoughts change, your body changes, the world changes. But that which is witnessing never changes. And that witness isn't behind, it isn't in. We often say behind, but it's not really behind. That witness is in all things. It's prior to the appearance of the body, and it is all things that appear. So what I mean by prior to the appearance of the body is it's there prior to birth, it's there during deep sleep, and it's there after death. It's who you truly are. It's absolutely empty. The one thing you can do is, what is behind you right now? There is nothing behind you. There is perception, but there's nothing behind you. It's empty, it's vast, it's infinite. Not as imagination, but as it, like what is looking so vast and empty and full. Full because it's not separate from everything. You can't find the experiencer. It is all that's experienced. It is the wall, it is the window, it is the light, it is the computer. It is these words. Perception is everything that's appearing. There is no separate perceiver. There's a person in consciousness. Which moves and changes. The same that knows that. So Ramana Maharshi would keep investigating, who am I? Who am I? And then Nisargadatta would be put the attention in the I am, or he would say, discern what's not true, like not this, not that. Yeah, just keep discerning that anything that appears isn't it. So that's the emptiness side to me. And the love side to me is, I've called it in the past, I am. But from reading Nisargadatta in my book clubs now, I realise that that could be quite confusing if you've been taught by Nisargadatta. So you would call it the impersonal I am beings. I used to call it like amness or I am, I didn't really mind. But it's impersonal, it's not anything to do with the body. Like it's that sense of being. You are here, this exists, but it's not personal, like I am something. I am a name, a body, a thought, a sensation. It's absolutely impersonal. And when these two are recognized and come together, even though they've always been together, because they're the one and the same thing, the empty looking, the impersonal I am. And they're really recognized, then there is a shift from experiencing as a person, a name or an identity, to experiencing from the, not as a person, but from the empty looking or the impersonal I am. So there's a movement back to what you truly are. And then the character, the person is something that comes and goes and the truly are. I've often called it an energetic expansion because that's what it felt like for me before. I was like somebody in here, and then there was this expansiveness that happened. And then the person came and went in that expansiveness. And that expansiveness felt silent, still, empty, and full of everything. And it changed my character, but my character can still be, you know, a character. Has its predispositions, its annoying habits, can get a bad temper on. It can say unkind things sometimes, or, you know, it can, yeah, character is a character, but it did change my character. But it's natural as every object, everything that appears in this is going to be pleasures and pain and good and bad. And then ultimately none of that. And that's really true. Yeah. And this process, this waking up process, is an apparent pathless path. this apparent process of the pathless path that is so unique. Everybody's apparent process to us will be so unique. But I do notice common factors. Is that a lot of the time, you know, people get into this subject or get into therapy and they begin to sort of shed their load, their identification, their character, sort of things out. And so presenting to yogas of this subject, non-duality, and it tends to be a shift. Sometimes people have shifts in different ways. Sometimes it's a gradual thing, gradual. Sometimes there's awakening to emptiness first and then love. Sometimes it's like a lot of going backwards and forwards. Yeah, it's so